On this week's special edition of the show, UAE Weekly went behind the scenes of the Bentley Systems Year in Infrastructure Conference for 2013 to look at some of the world's largest and most impressive infrastructure projects. There were some notable entries from the UAE, including one of the most ambitious airport developments, the Abu Dhabi Midfield Terminal, with the conference focusing on the role that technology plays in the development and management of the world's infrastructure design and construction. We discover the trends that are shaking up the industry. This gathering of top executives holds some of the greatest minds in infrastructure design, engineering, construction and operations. They are here in London to represent some of the more ambitious and most innovative projects in the world during the Bentley Systems Year in Infrastructure 2013 conference. With an air of excitement and anxiety, these industry leaders are here to present their projects to their competitors and peers during the Be Inspired Awards competition held during the conference, with each one vying to be named as the top infrastructure project in their respective categories.
Well, the Year in Infrastructure 2013 is the first conference where we've expanded beyond our Be Inspired Award competition, where projects are nominated and judged for their innovation in technology and infrastructure. We've extended it to be a conference because we seek on the one hand to impart what's been learned in these leading projects to others in infrastructure around the world, and we've invited them here to help share in networking and sharing to identify what are the strategies effective now and that will emerge to be effective for the Year in Infrastructure in future years. It's very impressive what's been accomplished, so much so that we learn from it. In a particular case is one of the projects nominated from the Emirates, by the way.
Founded in 1984, Bentley Systems provides engineers, architects, constructors, geospatial professionals and owner-operators with software solutions for sustaining infrastructure. What is most notable in the evolvement of the sector, according to the company's CEO Greg Bentley, is the embrace of information technology.
We like to say it's information mobility, and those of us as consumers have benefited so much from the investment and invention of what makes us mobile with devices and internet and wireless and so forth. But imagine, as we can now do, applying those consumer-led innovations in an industrial setting in the creation and construction and operations of infrastructure, where necessarily the virtual world that people create and model and plan is differently situated from the physical world where the work is done, and there's so much to be gained through information mobility, not only people mobility on job sites and so forth, but in the globalization of the supply chain to create components that are put together into the structures we use now when we build to improve lives in the world.
Out of the 65 projects submitted by organisations in 43 countries for the awards, there were some standouts, one of which was the T-Con S.r.L. Costa Concordia wreck removal project. A finalist in the category of innovation in offshore engineering, it is the first salvage operation to raise a ship without dismantling it. The $400 million Costa Concordia wreck removal project challenge was to remove the Costa Concordia cruise ship off the island of Giglio, Italy, while preserving the environment and restoring the site back to its original state.
We have been involved in this project since the beginning in trying to identify the way of recovering this wreck after the accident, with the main scope of respond to the bid request, which was to remove the wreck in a wall, the wall wreck without cutting on site and respecting the environmental conditions there, and at the end restoring the seabed and all the environment as previously. And we have contributed in finding and proposing a solution that it was accepted. And then we have remained involved in this, the design of several components on this project, and mainly on this underwater steel platform that we have presented and to this Congress, which were the key components that allows the operation, this power buckling operation, to be performed, to be completed.
The rack has been rotated, so now it is flat, resting on the platform and on the seabed, and that's it. And then it will be floated and removed later on.
Many of the finalists came from neighbouring India. One particular project that showed innovations in its category, rail and transit, was L&T's Construction's involvement with the 1.2 billion rupee Hyderabad Metro Rail project, a public-private partnership designed to provide a modern transport corridor in the state of Andhra Pradesh.
Our project, first of all, it's from Hyderabad Metro Rail project from India, which is the world's largest PPP project in the metro sector. And we have about 72 kilometer stretch in the project with 66 elevated stations, which we have to complete the entire project, deliver in 5 years duration, which is a challenging task anyway worldwide. Even if you take probably the Dubai Metro, the construction duration, being only a EPC project. But ours here is a PPP project wherein we have to bring in the financial institutions to fund for the project. Then we have to complete the land acquisition and finalize the entire engineering and do the construction and commissioning. So that is where our project has got a lot of importance and a lot of challenges involved.
One trend that is more and more apparent in the design and construction of modern infrastructure is that utilising the most advanced software systems could potentially save millions of dollars and hundreds of man-hours. And in the high-stakes game of infrastructure delivery, this is very good news. So how exactly is software innovation improving the planning and management of infrastructure projects?
It's the case that an infrastructure project, if you think of it, and for us infrastructure is everything we build to improve the world for better quality of lives for all of us. It always involves, if you like, a campus. Even if it's an airport, there's utilities around it, and there's both structural and building and geospatial components to put together. So multiple disciplines have to work together, and now they have technology better to collaborate than ever. And then, of course, there's the construction processes that involve a global supply chain frequently, and where the work packaging on site is actually where technology is helping the most, getting models for buildings from the construction trailer to the field and improving the last mile, if you like, in the workplace execution. And then that same model can go on to help with operations and maintenance of the building to be a 3D in-context guide to improving the operations of the facility. The trend really is that there's two axes in which technology is helping. We can have a greater depth of information modeling, we say BIM, but the B would be for better performing assets, where we go from not only visualizing their performance, but to simulating their performance, and ultimately to be immersed in the model as we operate. On the other axis of collaboration, which is so important to get it right, we go from design to construction to operations.
According to Bentley, the Middle East is the fastest growing region for Bentley project work as a whole. The UAE already boasts some of the most iconic developments ever constructed, and this trend continues with the strong representation of firms present in the UAE nominated as finalists in the Be Inspired Awards. One company that garnered a lot of attention was Consolidated Contractors Company, a JV partner for the $3.2 billion Abu Dhabi Airport Midfield Terminal project.
This project is one of the biggest and most prestigious projects in the area, in the region now. It is an X-shaped terminal. It's about 700,000 square meter built-up area, and it's supposed to serve about 8,500 passengers per hour and about 19,000 packages per hour. So those figures tells you the capacity and that this airport is looked to be like a hub in the region. The project is executed by a joint venture of 3 companies. CCC is one of them, and there's another 2 companies, TAV, which is a Turkish company, Arab Tech, which is a local UAE company, and it's equally shared between the 3 partners.
It's a unique project, unique in the way they've implemented BIM. I can say it's one of its own currently in the world that's doing BIM in an automation way, that they have gathered all the information and they have controlled them through BIM, and they could extract a live data at actual time to know exactly what is the status of the project. The challenges in such projects is the changes. When you need to track the changes and you need to maintain the models and the information, it's for engineering, commercial, and etc. to be always updated. And they have to be, everybody has to be informed at the same time. In such a huge project with a huge information, that challenge is that maintaining everybody at the same time with the same information so you don't miss. This is the things that it has been implemented in such project using special software.
Moved on to like Dubai Festival City, down to Mazda. The same principles were then applied to London 2012 and one or two other Olympic games like the Turin Winter Olympics and a few others. We were also instrumental in supporting the Qatar Asian Games, the Commonwealth Games in 2006. So that experience is what flows into supporting companies like CCC, Arab Tech, TAV. CCC are very unique because they've been adopting Bentley technology for several years. I think it goes back to the early 90s even. And they've successfully developed this technology and applied it.
Emirati Engineers and Consultants was another finalist nominated for their implementation of software-based program management across a number of projects in the UAE.
The project we have presented yesterday is the projects at the moment we're involved with in Abu Dhabi. The total value of these projects is about $450 million, which is about 1.3 billion UAE dirhams. The projects mainly mix residential and commercial use. They're multi-towers based in the center of Abu Dhabi. They are really, the idea of our involvement is to bring change to the construction industry in the United Arab Emirates and make it a lead project within the region, not only in the UAE but in the entire region. Improving the sector is essential part of economic growth within the UAE. So the more changes we do, the better saving we can make, and then of course we can do better projects with higher quality.
Both CCC and Emirati received special recognition awards at the ceremony, with industry insiders present at the event particularly impressed with the continuing pace and quality of projects currently being undertaken in the Emirates.
Yeah, definitely to be a finalist is something motivating, and it's an honor because you are recognized and acknowledged by experts in the industry. So this is really an honor for me, for my colleagues and my company. In addition to that, I think such acknowledgement and motivation will help us to continue working in this field, to try to be distinguished.
Just being shortlisted for this award is fantastic. The idea of it is somebody's recognition of our work, recognizing our work, I would say, and it's just meeting the people around and learning from experience and from these people who really bring huge experience to this place, and sharing the information as well as another thing that we are very pleased to have. And this is something that where the knowledge is created and shared, and for the benefit of everyone.
The UAE is to be commended for being able to commission and then deliver really excellent examples. Many designers and architects of the world wish to have their drawing board, if you like, in the Emirates. We're glad to have had our software help in the past with Dubai Festival City, the new Dubai Metro, which is a terrific example of infrastructure contributing already. And the new projects across the Emirates are characterized by a lot of foresight, I think, on the part of the owners.
I love Dubai because of the innovative aspects of the design and the coordination. The challenge of coordination becomes interesting because Dubai is like a center point for the globe. Whereas in some countries you're dealing with engineers on one location, you're dealing with a true global organization. Expo, we're supporting, for example, Expo in Italy. So Dubai's opportunity here is to make sure that they get all that information pooled into this central database, the BIM information database, and which allows them then to save the data for later asset management.
Apart from the annual awards ceremony, the event played host to a number of sector-specific summits and lectures, as well as keynote addresses from notable figures such as Sir John Ahmet, the former chairman of the Olympic Delivery Authority for the hugely successful London Games, whose team were able to deliver the critical infrastructure and stadiums on budget and ahead of schedule.
Well, it's interesting that we're here in the UK and surrounded by successful infrastructure projects. We just heard about the London Olympics, of course, designed and built ahead of schedule and budget. And what Sir John Ahmet told us here is that it had to do with the collaboration across the disciplines, and we were glad to help with that from a technology standpoint.
One thing that hasn't changed over the years is that the design and the utilisation of infrastructure does have long-term effects on the legacy of a city for generations to come.
For those who monitor the industry, will recognize that UAE is developing very fast, and they invest heavily in developing their country for high standards. And the type of projects in UAE is, in the region in general, is distinguished from other areas, where each and every project is a landmark by itself. So there is a competition to achieve landmark projects in each and every local country. In addition to that, they are trying to achieve this in a very short time, because they invest heavily in these projects, and they need the return on investment to start fast. This is one part of it, and the second part of it, they want for their countries to develop quickly and to achieve targets and be a known name in the region, not only in the local region, but I believe in the whole world.
With all eyes now on Dubai as it bids to host Expo 2020, the Emirate has a long history of facilitating connections and pioneering new ideas, and the Dubai Expo, according to top officials from the UAE, would be a great bonus along with Dubai's already existing momentum of development, as the infrastructure that is already in place is not only geared for 2020, but long after.